Thank you for joining this screencast covering Beda Fomm. My name is John Kranz with Consim Press, and we're going to be covering perhaps the capstone feature of the game in terms of game mechanics, and that is morale, which is Major Rules Section 7.0. That is really what sets this game apart as far as from other North African games, and morale plays an absolutely critical role during play for the Italians as well as for the British player. If a formation's morale drops during play, those units become much more brittle and have much more difficulty staying in an effective fighting force. So let's begin by looking at what we have here is the Italian morale track. And we see here the various game markers for the morale markers for each parent formation, in this case the Italians. The number on the counter is the actual starting value. So you can see we've actually joined this game in progress. We can see, for example, there's an 11 value for 10th Bersaglieri, and it's located in the 10 spot. And Merc here normally is a 6, and it's in the 5 slot. So this is used to track a unit's parent formation's morale level. As units fail their morale or get eliminated, you need to reduce the formation morale on this track, and we'll be covering that here in a moment. In terms of morale checks themselves, what you need to do is, as a stack is called to take a morale check, that's basically as a result of bombardment, fire, or regular combat, you may be asked to make a morale check for the stack, either straight up or with a die roll modifier. And if there's a stack of units, make sure you roll for each unit individually, and you want to roll low. If you roll above the unit's parent morale value, say 1 to 3 above the number, then there's a retreat result that must be followed. And if you roll 4 or more on your morale check, the unit is actually eliminated. So let's take a quick look at how that might look. So I've got a situation already set up, and let's just assume for this example that the British player turn is in progress. The British player has already moved his units. The light khaki brown here have come up from the south, heading north, meeting some Italian units here. And we're going to skip the barrage phase. We're going to also skip the anti-tank phase since there's no anti-tank fire that's going to take place here at all. And we're going to the regular combat phase now for the British player. So let's first do this regular attack. We have, again, the middle value is the combat value. So we have 2 and 2 is 4. And the defensive values here, we have a stack of 2 units for the Italians totaling 2. So we have 2 to 1 odds. So we'll go ahead, and when we resolve the combat, let's just assume for purposes of resolving the combat, which I'll show you the table here, for 2 to 1 table, here's the combat results table, and you can see from the 2 to 1 column, if we roll a 3 or higher, there's a morale check, and then there's a die roll modifier, and this actually hurts you as the defender. If there's a positive number, that means you have to add to that die roll, which makes it harder for you to pass your morale. So let's assume for the attack that we're just doing now, I rolled a single die, and I rolled a 4, which is an M result or a straight morale check without any die roll modifier. What I would now need to do as the Italian players, I would roll once for each of the units here. So let's again see what I have. I have a Merc light anti-air unit, and I have Bergonzoli's transport units here. So so we have to roll again individually for each unit. So let's start with the Merc light anti-aircraft. So again, we need to roll 2 dice. So I'll go ahead and do that now, and I'll tell you what the result is. I rolled a 4. Again, there was no modifier to the die roll, and we saw earlier from the parent formation for Merc, it was above a 4. So I've actually passed morale for this unit, no problem at all. So we are good. So the next part for the Italian player is, since there's another unit in the hex, we have to roll again 2 dice. Again, it's 2 dice for morale checks. So we roll 2 dice again here. And in this case, I rolled a 7. And I happen to know that the morale level for Bergonzoli happens to be, for purposes of this example, it's a 4. So we're going to go ahead and have, well, actually, let's take a look just to verify that. Where's Bergonzola here? So actually it's much lower in the game, isn't it? So we're going to move it back up since this is a game in progress. We said it was a 4. I rolled a 7. So the difference between 4 and 7 is I rolled 3 over. So since I rolled 3 over, that means I'm going to have to retreat the unit, but also since I failed my morale, the Bergonzoli marker goes down 1 level. So I've done that already. So let's go back to do the retreat, and let's see what happens now. So unfortunately on this retreat, we've got a transport unit that can't leave the road. So that means for the retreat purposes, we have to retreat along the road 2 hexes. We can only go this direction. There is 1 hex. We've just retreated. But notice here we cannot retreat into the 2nd hex because that's overstacking with the other transport unit. So that means this unit is effectively eliminated, which I've just got rid of it, because it could not conduct a successful retreat. Other ways a unit might get eliminated on retreat, obviously, is an enemy zone of control will eliminate a unit as well. So as a result of that retreat, if we go back up to the parent formation morale markers here, one thing to be cautious of here is you're only reducing the formation morale by 1 for each unit. So even though I reduced it by 1 for the failed morale check, I do not reduce it yet again a second time because the unit was then eliminated because it couldn't complete its retreat. It's very important to keep in mind you never reduce the morale level by more than 1 for each unit, no matter what happens. So whether it's a retreat, an elimination, or a combination of both, because I couldn't retreat successfully and I got eliminated after the fact, it's still, you're only moving the marker down 1 spot. So I hope that's clear as far as how morale checks are made, that you're checking units individually when they're stacked. Let's do one more example here. So we have another regular combat. We have 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. We have 12 factors. Again, that's the middle value against 3. But of course, I'm going to throw in my artillery for barrage support. So I've got my 3 for the ground combat plus 3 for firing defensive support. So that makes it 6 on defense for Sabratha here. So 12 to 6 is 2 to 1 odds. Let's say for the 2 to 1 odds, if we look at the table again, let's say at 2 to 1 I rolled a 5, which would be an M+1 result. If we go back here to M+1 result, I need to roll 2 dice for Sabratha. I rolled a 3, and Sabratha, I know I've passed morale based on that value, no problem at all. Let's assume that I failed my morale by 4 or more. If I did, then this unit would be eliminated. That's the basic rule for morale checks. If you fail by 4 or more, the unit gets eliminated right away. And again, if I fail my morale by rolling above it by, say, 1 to 3, an increment of 1 to 3, then this unit would have to retreat 2 hexes, which I could easily do since I don't have to stay along a road. So that unit would be able to retreat. So again, that's just a quick overview of morale checks. Again, it's the only time in the game you roll 2 dice, and it's always per unit. So when a stack undergoes a morale check, you need to roll for each unit separately. You apply the modifiers. Obviously, you want to roll low. If you roll high, guess what? The units might be eliminated outright, which is why you want to keep your morale levels intact as best as you can, especially as a British player who's doing all he can to block the Italians. If you find your Combo Force or 4th Armored Brigade, if they start taking a lot of hits in morale, British will also become brittle over time. So again, a absolutely critical part of the game is the morale rolls. So if you have any further questions about morale rules or any rules in general, please visit us online at consimpress.com, or for the game specifically, you can also reach us at bedafomm.com. Thank you again for listening.